got the chance to travel for a month to Charlottesville, Virginia, all expenses paid, which was nice, and intern at the Virginia Quarterly Review.
I had the experience of researching different equities in different markets across 129 different markets.
The first trip was Costa Rica, and just the fact that I could see all of these beautiful species that I read about, and then to do research on it. Oh.
Stuff you learn in class doesn't necessarily fit in the real world, but the internship allows you to see those parallels.
Theory to practice is about entering into a dialogue with a world outside yourself.
I feel like it's rare when I talk to another undergraduate student and they have experience working in a completely different country with research. And I feel like that kind of gives me the edge compared to some other people.
I wouldn't trade what I've learned here, or what I've experienced here, which is the most important kind of learning for anything.
The NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways, might have a quick word with.
I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
Welcome to the 2014 NSCAA Game of the Week presented by the Turbo Sports Group Network. And tonight we bring you a Division III rivalry in the Buckeye State, the Ohio Northern Polar Bears from Ada and the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops from Delaware. This is a matchup of two teams that have met often throughout the last few years and a rivalry that has so far in the past been dominated completely, almost completely, by the Battling Bishops. But the Polar Bears are looking for their first win over Ohio Wesleyan since the inauguration of President Barack Obama. And we are bringing it to you for the second straight year live on the Turbo Sports Group Network in conjunction with NSCAA TV. Good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Digby. Glad you could join us for this Division III rivalry between the Polar Bears and the Battling Bishops. Polar Bears coming into this game 5-2 on the season. Their last game was a 3-2 loss at Albion. They are currently ranked 24th in the Division III NSCAA coaches poll, and they are currently also unranked in the D3Soccer.com poll, but they are receiving votes. Ohio Wesleyan is 3-2-1 on the season. They are 22nd in the D3Soccer.com poll. Last week they were in the top 10, but they have dropped significantly after a draw in their final game. Right now, let's step aside for the national anthem. And once again, welcome to Roy Reich Field at the J. Martin Soccer Complex on the campus of Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware. Tonight we bring you a Buckeye State rivalry in Division III men's soccer between the Polar Bears of Ohio Northern and the Battling Bishops of Ohio Wesleyan. Ohio Northern coming into this game with a 5-2 record. Their last game was a 3-2 loss at Albion. And right now they come into this game eager to snap a 6-year losing streak. The last time they beat the Battling Bishops of Ohio Wesleyan, the President of the United States, was George W. Bush back in 2008. Ohio Wesleyan, meanwhile, coming into this game with a 3-2-1 record. Their last game, a 1-1 draw with Center. They were ranked in the top 15 of the NSCAA Division III coaches poll last week, but after a subpar week, they dropped out of the rankings, not even receiving any votes, although they are ranked 22nd in the D3Soccer.com poll. Ohio Northern has risen up the NSCAA rankings to number 24. They are currently receiving votes in D3Soccer.com after dropping from their 20 spot last week. Taking a look at the starting lineups, first for the Polar Bears of Ohio Northern. They are coached by Brent Reidenauer in his 17th year. He has led the Polar Bears to 6 Ohio Athletic Conference Tournament championships, all of them since 2006, including the last 4. Their outfield players, Dustin Lorenzo, Chad Smith, Keegan Ross, Chase Mueller, Colin Johnson, Austin Horton, Dakota Swisher, Chris Garbig, Charles D'Imperio, and Matt Kinkoff. Starting goalkeeper for the Polar Bears is a freshman from Medina, Ohio, number 00, Dean McNeil. Now for the starting lineup of the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops. They are coached by Jay Martin in his 38th year. He has 643 career wins, most all-time among all college soccer coaches. His outfield today will be Gunnar Blecker, Matt Cohen, Lonnie Barnes, Drew Pang, Colton Blecker, Evan Lee, Ryan Kaplan, Brian Schaefer, Taylor Rieger, and Matt DeCesar. Starting goalkeeper for the Battling Bishops is a senior from Pickerington, Ohio, number 1, Colin B. Miller. 2-1 was the result of this fixture last year in Ada. Polar Bears took a 1-0 lead off a goal from Austin Horton, who is this year a sophomore from Lewis Center, Ohio. Before the Bishops came back, they had a penalty shot opportunity in the second half when it was still scoreless, but they came from behind 1-0 to defeat the Polar Bears by a score of 2-1 off a brace from Colton Blecker, the senior this year from Lewis Center, Ohio. Our man in the middle is Trey Gaither, assisted on the end lines by Aaron Mitchell and Doug Palamaki. And Ohio Wesleyan in white with black trim going right to left across your screen will kick us off to start this rivalry. 17 wins for the Bishops, 2 for the Polar Bears, and 2 draws. Ohio Wesleyan and Ohio Northern getting ready to kick off in our NSCAA Game of the Week. Evan Lee kicks off to Colton Blecker, and we are underway in Delaware. Ohio Wesleyan in white with black trim, black numbers. Ohio Northern the exact opposite, black and white trim with white numbers. Colin B. Miller, the first goalkeeper to get his hands to the ball. Registered 3 saves in that 2-1 win for the Battling Bishops last year. Lonnie Barnes feeding a teammate. Out on the far side. You see on that banner on the far side of the field 2 national championships under Jay Martin for the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops. One in 1998, one in 2011, and in that 2011 national championship run, they actually defeated the Polar Bears in the 3rd round by a score of 3-2. That game was right here in Delaware. Ohio Northern still searching for their first national championship, but they did make the championship game in 2012 before losing in the final to Messiah, who right now are setting the standard for Division III soccer, looking for their 3rd straight national championship in 2014. But will one of these two stop Messiah from doing so? As a pass down the left wing intended for Blecker is cleared out by Chad Smith, the junior defender from Miamisburg, Ohio. And an attacking throw-in coming up for Ohio Wesleyan. Cross into the box, almost an opportunity for Colton Blecker, and now an opportunity here. And inside the first 3 minutes, a goal from Brian Schaefer, the junior from Chatham, New Jersey. And the Battling Bishops, who have enjoyed a lot of success in their matches against the Polar Bears, could not have gotten off to a better start. It's Brian Schaefer opening the deadlock just 2 minutes and 6 seconds into the match. It was a great cross into the box, a dummy header from Colton Blecker, and Schaefer, who provided one of the assists, who provided the game-winning assist for Ohio Wesleyan in this fixture last year, has opened the scoring. That is Schaefer's third goal of the season. That takes him into first place on his own for the 2014 campaign, ahead of the 2 goals scored by Colton Blecker and Taylor Rieger. Schaefer, again, providing the game-winning assist in last year's fixture. That came with 2:16 remaining in regulation. This comes 2 minutes and 6 seconds into regulation. Here is Horton, who did score almost a year ago today. It was September 18th, 2013. It was a Wednesday. Over at the ONU soccer field in Ada, about 58 miles northwest of where we are located right now. Interception by Ohio Wesleyan. And here's Drew Pang bringing the ball forward. Gunnar Blecker. Out comes B. Miller for the clearance outside of the box. Cleared as far as Horton. Colin Johnson one-on-one with Ryan Kaplan. Back out to Horton. Horton trying a through ball on the right wing, and now an opportunity for Ohio Northern. Cross back into the box, cleared out by the Wesleyan defense. And it will roll past the byline to the corner. I should clarify, Ohio Wesleyan. Not mean to say Wesleyan there. Say that because there is a university in Middletown, Connecticut that simply goes by the name Wesleyan University. But a corner kick now here in the 5th minute for Ohio Northern. It's Austin Horton on the right foot, headed up by a Bishop defender, and the Polar Bears get another corner. So Bishop's on top off a goal from Brian Schaefer in the 3rd minute. Now Ohio Northern looking for a response. A one-time lined-up shot by Chase Mueller deflected. Kept in play by Matt DeCesar. And the Bishops will clear out, force the Polar Bears to reset. Nice crowd tonight here at Rory Reich Field. Many of them in pants and sweaters. It has been a little bit chilly throughout the week here in Central Ohio. We've been consistently in the 60s throughout the day, and no exception to that on this Wednesday, September 17th. As a cross into the box. And a good spin-around move. Shot came right at Colin B. Miller, but opportunity almost knocking for Keegan Ross, the senior from Pickerington, Ohio. Ross, who played at Pickerington North High School with Ohio Wesleyan's keeper B. Miller, almost getting the ball past his own teammate, something he must have done very often in practice back in high school. Kaplan's cross, finding Matt Cohen. Trying an ambitious shot under pressure from Chris Garbig, easily fielded by freshman goalkeeper Dean McNeil from Medina, Ohio. And a one-touch pass trying to link an attack for Ross, but it was just beyond Ross's reach. Rolls harmlessly to B. Miller. Both teams coming off NCAA tournament seasons. Both teams coming off conference championship seasons. Last year, Ohio Northern had 18 wins, 4 losses, and won the Ohio Athletic Conference tournament for the 4th year in a row, and the 6th time since 2006. They did lose in the NCAA first round to Kenyon. As here's a run. Intercepted by Northern. Turnover, Horton. Cross back in towards the middle of the field. This is Colin Johnson. Dakota Swisher. Intercepted by Lonnie Barnes, and now a 2-on-2 opportunity as here's Evan Lee trying to get around Chris Garbig, cutting back into the middle of the field. Tries a through ball for Blecker. Bishops maintaining possession just outside the box. Barnes. Brian Schaefer scored the only goal of the game so far back in the 3rd minute. Ball had a little bit of ricochets off of players, almost like a pinball. Back to Drew Pang. Kaplan. And Evan Lee just too strong of a touch. Did not take a deflection on its way out of bounds. And out for an Ohio Northern throw-in. So Ohio Northern again lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Ohio Wesleyan through the regular season had 19 wins and 3 ties, no losses. They actually received a first-round bye, but lost their second-round matchup, their only matchup in the NCAA tournament last year as a through ball. Out comes B. Miller to collect it from about 13 yards out. Otherwise, Colin Johnson had an open net waiting for the equalizer, as both teams already getting 2 shots inside the opening 9 minutes of the match. Keegan Ross and Chase Mueller right now credited with the shots for the Polar Bears. Cohen has taken one opportunity for the battling Bishops, and of course, Brian Schaefer, the difference back in the 3rd minute. Here's Barnes. One-on-one with Horton. Tried to pass down the wing, deflected out of bounds, and Ohio Wesleyan has an attacking throw-in. Taken short. Lee's cross into the box. Important intervention there from the Polar Bear defender. Cleared back as far as Matt DeCesar. Kaplan. DeCesar. Chip pass intended for Matt Cohen. Collected in the air by Dean McNeil. So Ohio Northern has been creating chances of their own, but Ohio Wesleyan has been very effective on the counterattack. And they are making their presence known early on. We're about 10.5 minutes old here at the J. Martin Soccer Complex, named for the current Bishops head coach in his 38th year. 643 career wins, the most all-time among any college soccer coach. He was the second man to reach 600 coaching wins, the first being Wheaton's Joe Bean, and we visited Wheaton College's campus. They named their stadium after their beloved head coach as well, the legendary Joe Bean, who himself is still alive. He did retire after the 2006 season. when he had led Wheaton to the national championship game. But Jay Martin continuing his tenure as the head coach of Ohio Wesleyan men's soccer. He is also an accomplished lacrosse coach for the Battling Bishops. Ryan Kaplan with the throw-in just past midfield. Lee chests it towards Cohen. Here's Schaefer. One-on-one with Swisher. Blecker getting around a defender, crossing to the box. Did take a deflection, and Ohio Wesleyan has a corner. Their first of the evening on the far side of the field. It will be Brian Schaefer to take. 32-50 and counting first half. Bishops leading 1-0. Schaefer on the right foot looking into the sun. And Drew Pang got the touch. Defended off the line by McNeil and cleared out by Ohio Northern. How close was Drew Pang to doubling Ohio Wesleyan's advantage, but McNeil was in the absolute right place at the right time. Here's Colton Blecker, the game-winning hero for the Bishops last year. Matt DeCesar waited for that ball to come to him, almost had it intercepted by Colin Johnson. And Ohio Wesleyan again with the throw-in. Here's a run from Matt Kinkoff, leading scorer this year for the Polar Bears so far. Now Johnson tried to cut one out on the wing for Kinkoff. Cleared out by Pang, and Ohio Northern has a throw-in. Matt Kinkoff with 5 goals in 7 matches this season for the Polar Bears. Ohio Wesleyan came into this game with 3 players tied for the team lead in goals. Colton Blecker, Taylor Rieger, and Brian Schaefer. But again, Schaefer scoring his 3rd goal of the season in the 3rd minute of the game. Now in the 15th. Chuck D'Imperio tried to get a run just outside the right side of that penalty box. As the Polar Bears attacking the goal to your right. In terms of geography, they are going south, defending the north goal. Here's Keegan Ross. Gets a cross, cleared out of the box by Pang. And Ohio Northern with the throw-in again. Bishops lead in shots 3-2 with that Pang header denied off the line by McNeil. Very close to increasing Ohio Wesleyan's lead to 2-0. Here's Chad Smith. Back to Dustin Lorenzo. Try to pass for Kinkoff. Intercepted and cleared by Ohio Wesleyan. You see on that banner, Ohio Wesleyan, the 2011 national champions, also winning their first title in 1998. And the women are also 2-time national champions, winning back-to-back in 01 and 02, as Jay Martin and his assistant coaches are sending several Bishops along the touchline to engage in warm-ups before entering the field. No substitutions yet, 16 minutes played, and Ohio Northern given their first goal kick of the evening. Looks like we will be seeing at some point in this first half Jeremy Brown, a freshman from Xenia, Ohio. One of those warming up along the touchline. Goal kick headed back in the direction of Blecker. Cleared as far as Schaefer. Rieger, now Blecker one-on-one with Smith. Right at the northwest corner of the field. Blecker got a touch around Smith, but not his body. Clearance only as far as Kaplan, who one-touches it right back to the Polar Bear defender. Long ball intended for Johnson will be collected by DeCesar. He sends a long ball and turn towards Lee. This is Horton. Horton lost the ball to Barnes from behind. Turnover to Kaplan. Out comes B. Miller to retrieve the ball. Long clearance goes out of bounds by midfield. And our referee today, Trey Gaither, awards a throw into Ohio Northern. This is a Buckeye State rivalry, but it is not an interconference rivalry, as right now we may have an injured Ohio Northern player. Trey Gaither waving play on for the moment. Now he is calling for the clock to be stopped as Colin Johnson, a sophomore from Rochester, New York, got tangled up in that confrontation. Looked like he may have rolled his ankle. That's from what we saw in real time. As Trey Gaither has asked for the clock to be stopped at the 26:58 mark of the first half. Again, if you're just joining us, 1-0, Ohio Wesleyan leads Ohio Northern off a third-minute goal from Brian Schaefer. Ohio Wesleyan leading the all-time series with 17 wins. Ohio Northern has 2 wins. There have also been 2 draws between the battling Bishops and the Polar Bears. Ohio Northern's last win in this game was a 1-0 decision back in 2008, and it was right here at the J. Martin Soccer Complex. But since then, it has been all battling Bishops in this series, including a 3-2 win in 2011 in the third round of the NCAA Division III tournament. The Bishops would go on to win their second national championship in 2011, and they did beat Ohio Northern again in 2012, although the Polar Bears in 2012 made the national championship game before losing to Messiah. Johnson was able to be helped off the pitch to the Ohio Northern bench. And on the field now is David Janis, a sophomore from Oregonia, Ohio. He is on the field now in place of the injured Colin Johnson. Clearance back to B. Miller in the act of good sportsmanship. Here's Kaplan, unable to keep the ball in play. And a collision there. I don't think any malicious intent there from Kaplan, just seemed to be a coincidence that he ran into D'Imperio. Second straight year we've brought this rivalry match to you on NSCAA TV. 58 miles separating the two universities. One from the Ohio Athletic Conference, one from the North Coast Athletic Conference. Cross into the box intended for Blecker, headed out by Chad Smith. Here's Matt Cohen. Here's Pang. Barnes almost made that pass too heavy for Cohen to retrieve, but he does so. Ohio Wesleyan maintaining majority of possession in this first half. A lot of it on the attacking end of the field as Gunnar Blecker being held off by Smith, and a clearance was deflected off of Smith. And a third Polar Bear defender was called in to clear the ball out of the 18-yard box. Here's Kaplan. Left-footed cross intended for Rieger. Intercepted by Ohio Northern. Pang to Barnes. Through ball for Evan Lee, who's onside. Gets a chip across the box over everyone's head, including goalkeeper McNeil. Here's Blecker on the far side. And cleared out for an Ohio Wesleyan corner kick. It will be their second of the evening, coming with 24-16 and counting in the first half. It will be Brian Schaefer. A couple of minutes ago, he took a corner, was looking right into the box, and a header from Lonnie Barnes was redirected by Drew Pang, but right into the arms of Dean McNeil. An easy collection for the freshman from Medina, Ohio. This is Austin Horton. Lorenzo. D'Imperio. Chase Mueller trying to find a Polar Bear. It was Keegan Ross in pursuit, got too heavy of a touch, and Matt DeCesar able to play guard and shield Ross from getting a critical touch. Ohio Wesleyan dodging a bullet there in the 22nd minute. B. Miller to take the ensuing goal kick. Kaplan. Poked the ball out of bounds under pressure from the substitute Janis. D'Imperio to Horton. Backheel pass from Kinkoff to Horton. Now in the box. Here's a one-touch opportunity. Shot low right at the left leg of Colin B. Miller. That opportunity coming from number 8, Chase Mueller, the junior from Uniontown, Ohio. Excuse me, it was Ross, number 6, instead of number 8. So Ross with his second shot of the evening. No dice so far for him or any of the other Polar Bears. Backheel pass from Lee. Deflected and out for another Ohio Wesleyan corner. Sun has fully set beyond the stands here at Roy Reich Field on the J. Martin Soccer Complex in Delaware. So Schaefer no longer looking into the sun as he was around 10 minutes ago. His right-footed cross over everyone's head. And first to it will be Chad Smith, who sends a long clearance down the near touchline. Collected right in front of the Ohio Wesleyan bench. Bishops will have a throw in near midfield. Here's DeCesar. Pass intercepted by Dakota Swisher. Here's DeCesar. Long ball for Matt Cohen, who's onside. One-on-one with Garbig. Two teams who are nationally ranked in one poll and not ranked in another poll. But Ohio Wesleyan is 22nd in the D3Soccer.com poll. Ohio Northern ranked 24th by the NSCAA Division III coaches poll. And Ohio Northern's defense has forced a Polar Bears corner kick, or goal kick, excuse me, in the 25th minute. McNeil will elect to take this from the northeast corner of that 6-yard box. Ricardo Balmaceda warming up for the Battling Bishops. Jay Martin yet to make a substitution. Brent Reidenauer has only made one out of injury. That was when he brought off Colin Johnson and introduced David Janus. That's an opportunity. Taylor Rieger may have taken one touch too many in this attempt to calm the ball down and set up a good shot. And a tackle from behind allowed McNeil to come out and collect and protect the 1-goal deficit. Ball down the left wing will be reached by Ross. Almost half an hour played here. Cross back into the middle. Here's Janus. Almost ran right into Gunnar Blecker and eventually cleared out by DeCesar, only as far as Mueller. Ohio Northern with 3 men in the penalty box. Cross deflected in. Rolls harmlessly right to B. Miller. Makes the save, preserving a shutout. Long clearance down the middle of the field. And the 27th minute will bring our first substitution for Ohio Wesleyan. It will be Ricardo Balmaceda, the junior from Houston, Texas. Went to the Village School. He is on for Taylor Rieger, the senior from Lewis Center, Ohio. So one substitution made by both teams so far in this first half. For Ohio Northern, Colin Johnson off, David Janus on. For Ohio Wesleyan, Taylor Rieger off, Ricardo Balmaceda on. Here's Kaplan. DeCesar. Cross wanted to take a lot of pace off, but unable to do so. Wanted to set Brian Schaefer up for his second goal of the match. Collected on the bounce by McNeil. And a hard collision there as Trey Gaither awarding Ohio Northern a free kick. Foul on Colton Blecker. And first free kick will be taken by Dustin Lorenzo. So opportunity here for Ohio Northern as they've already had 4 shots over the course of this game. Short kick taken by Lorenzo. Out comes B. Miller to claim the ball about 7 yards out from the goal line. 2 shots from Ross, 1 from Mueller, 1 from Janus for the Polar Bears. 5 shots for the Battling Bishops, 1 from 5 players. Matt Cohen, Drew Pang, Colton Blecker, Brian Schaefer, and Taylor Rieger. Schaefer, the only man to find the back of the net in this match. Lonnie Barnes plays back to Pang. Schaefer. One-touch pass from Lee for Blecker. Cross back to Lee. Important header by Mueller, but the ball's not out of the box. Shot taken right at D. McNeil, who's able to make the save from about 13 yards out. Ohio Wesleyan continuing to pepper away at that ONU goal. So far, Dean McNeil has only let 1 shot out of 6 get behind him. And Brian Schaefer getting around Garbig. 1-on-2, takes one-time shot, spilled by goalkeeper McNeil, saves again. Brian Schaefer had the first shot. Matt Cohen had the second after McNeil spilled the first. But McNeil was able to deny both opportunities. And the score remains 1-0 as 5 new substitutes are waiting to enter for Ohio Northern as we played nearly half an hour. Here is Schaefer on the left side. Intercepted by Chase Mueller. Sending a ball in the middle towards Kinkoff. Intercepted by DeCesar. As mentioned earlier, 5 substitutes waiting to enter for Ohio Northern. We will see Patrick Sable, a sophomore from Lancaster, Ohio, with the next dead ball. He was the Ohio Athletic Conference Player of the Week last week. Very influential in helping Ohio Northern to their 5-2 record where they sit right now. Also making an appearance soon will be Grant Albritton, a sophomore from Warsaw, Indiana. Number 22, Ben Conkin, a freshman from Maumee, Ohio, waiting to enter, as is Corey Lanes, a freshman from Zionsville, Indiana. And number 14, Grant Kayot, a freshman from Roanoke, Indiana. Free kick awarded to the Polar Bears with 14:01 and counting first half. Ohio Wesleyan leads 1-0 on a third-minute goal from Brian Schaefer. It's Chase Mueller. Horton finding Ross. Lining up an effort was Chuck D'Imperio, easily collected by B. Miller, was always curling on the ground away from the near post. Ohio Wesleyan will be making 2 substitutions themselves shortly. Kyle Baum, a sophomore from Powell, Ohio, and Nick Norman, the sophomore from Cincinnati, Ohio, waiting to enter. So next dead ball, we will see a grand total of 7 substitutions. 5 for Ohio Northern, 2 for Ohio Wesleyan. Lorenzo back into the middle of the field. Here's Smith. D'Imperio tried to feed one for Kinkoff inside the 6-yard box as Jay Martin sending a third substitute. So as it stands right now, next dead ball, which will come right now, we will see 3 substitutes for Ohio Wesleyan and now 6 for Ohio Northern. Now playing for the Battling Bishops are Nick Norman, Kyle Baum, and
number 10, Sept. In for the Bishops, number 6, Nick Norman, number 8, Kyle Baum, and number 26, Jeremy Brown.
Jeremy Brown is the third substitute, a freshman from Xenia, Ohio. So a grand total of 9 substitutions that last dead ball. 6 for the Battling Bishops. As a late one right at the end of that window. Seth Ricker, a freshman from Fort Jennings, Ohio, getting his first action with 11:50 and counting in the first half. Here is Ricker's first touch of the ball. Corey Lanes, another one of those substitutions, one-on-one with Kaplan. Kaplan winning the ball. Clearance sent towards Baum. So again, to repeat, the new substitutes on for Ohio Wesleyan, Nick Norman, Kyle Baum, and Jeremy Brown. Now on the field for Ohio Northern, Grant Albritton, Seth Ricker, Corey Lanes, Grant Kayot, Patrick Sable, and Ben Conkin. Here's David Janis. One-time shot. Went across the face of goal. Corey Lane's unable to get the touch. And B. Miller will gratefully take the goal kick with just under 11 minutes to go until halftime. 8 shots for Ohio Wesleyan, 7 for Ohio Northern. 2 shots each from Keegan Ross, Chase Mueller, Evan Lee, and Brian Schaefer. of those shots, 4 have been on target for Ohio Northern, 6 for Ohio Wesleyan. McNeil has made 5 saves. B. Miller has made 4. No cards shown yet here in the 35th minute as Lanes loses possession, the clearance by Pang. McNeil with the long clearance. And now here's an opportunity for Ohio Northern, cross into the box. It was David Janis trying to set up Ben Conkin, but Janis's pass going behind the freshman forward. Here's Balmaceda. Fouled from behind, and Ohio Wesleyan awarded the free kick in the 36th minute. That's the first foul of the match on Ohio Northern. No offsides yet for either team. It's Balmaceda with the free kick. Headed out only as far as Janis and Lee. Lee winning the ball for the Bishops, plays back to Kaplan. Blecker tried a backheel pass for Lee, cleared out by Lorenzo, and Kaplan will take the ensuing throw-in in the 37th minute. Norman getting around Patrick Sable. Cleared by Ohio Northern as far as Gunnar Blecker. Colton, the older of the two Bleckers by a year. "37 minutes played, 8 to go in the first half, 53 to go for the match. A very lively encounter between the Polar Bears and the battling Bishops. Here's an opportunity for Baum. One-touch pass finding Jeremy Brown. And now Baum is inside the penalty box. A clearance from behind. Good hustle from the Ohio Northern defender, Chris Garbig. And Ohio Wesleyan will reset with a corner kick in the 39th minute. Nick Norman to take the corner for the Bishops. Cross into the box over the head of Pang. Will fall back to Balmaceda. Crosses back into the box, always on the other side of that far post. And out for a goal kick. That's now 9 shots for Ohio Wesleyan. 6 of them have been on target. McNeil has made 5 saves. Ohio Northern, in the meantime, have had 7 shots, 4 on target, and Colin B. Miller has made 4 saves. Ohio Wesleyan right now will feel they could be up by as many as 2 or 3, but a couple of fantastic saves by D. McNeil. One right on the line, following a corner-headed goalward by Drew Pang. And then McNeil making a double save, first from Brian Schaefer and then from Matt Cohen a little later on in the first half. Here's Lanes. Almost got tangled up with his own teammate Sable. Cross into the box. Intended for Ben Conkin. Cleared out by Ohio Wesleyan. Balmaceda. Norman. Excuse me, that's Baum. Here's Jeremy Brown running down the right wing, back to Baum towards the middle of the field. Here's Evan Lee. Got around Mueller. Blecker back to Balmaceda. And an attempted cross toward the middle of the field. Couldn't direct it quite where he wanted it to. Falls harmlessly to McNeil. Inside the final 5 minutes of the first half. Only one goal has been scored in the 3rd minute from Brian Schaefer, the junior from Chatham, New Jersey. The man who, with 2:16 to play in regulation of this fixture last year, assisted the game-winning goal from Colton Blecker. As a foul from behind called on Jeremy Brown, free kick awarded to Ohio Northern. Schaefer's goal coming 126 seconds into the match. Off a quick attack from Ohio Wesleyan, one that was helped by a dummy header. Here's Kaplan inside the final 3:50 of the first half. Lanes. Grant Albritton. Ricker. Down the wing, this is David Janis. Almost lost his balance. Tried to direct it towards Ricker, and it eventually turned it over to Brown. Here's Norman. Lee threading the ball through for Brown, who tried to return the favor, but didn't anticipate Norman stopping his run. Here's Lee winning the ball back for Ohio Wesleyan. This is our 5th game of the NSCAA Small College Game of the Week series, as Ohio Northern continuing a run. Here's Dustin Lorenzo. Through ball. Reaches. An attacker cleared out by Ohio Northern. That was Ben Conkin who got the cross in, and Gunnar Blecker called on for the clearance, but Ohio Northern have an attacking throw-in with 120 seconds and counting in the first half. Lorenzo. Janis. Back to Albritton. Balmaceda trying to thread one for Brown, who was sandwiched in between two Polar Bear defenders. Balmaceda winning the ball back for the Bishops. And Balmaceda winning a free kick, fouled from behind by Corey Lanes, and Ohio Wesleyan, who scored 2 minutes and 6 seconds into this match, have an opportunity to get a goal very late here in this first half. Clock now under 1:17 and counting. Balmaceda and Norman, the two standing over the ball. Right now, it's only going Balmaceda who is standing over the ball. Free kick directed into the box toward Blecker. A critical header from the Polar Bears. Out for an Ohio Wesleyan corner kick. Inside the final minute of the first half. Balmaceda to take this ensuing corner kick, as Brian Schaefer did come off for the Bishops in that mass substitution when 9 different players were introduced. Balmaceda's corner comes with under a half minute to go. Peng keeps it in play on a bounce, but rolls out into the side netting for an Ohio Northern goal kick. Dee McNeil will likely have enough time simply to take the goal kick, and that will be that for the first half.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
As McNeil takes it short to Dustin Lorenzo, and that brings the end to a very offensive-minded first half at the J. Martin Soccer Complex in Delaware, Ohio. It only took 2 minutes and 6 seconds for Brian Schaefer to direct the ball past Dean McNeil into the back of the net, but that has been the only goal so far, but not without plenty of opportunities for both Ohio Wesleyan and Ohio Northern. We'll take a quick break, come back with some highlights from the first half, and bring you the second half on the NSCAA Game of the Week. Your halftime score, Ohio Wesleyan 1, Ohio Northern 0.
Got the chance to travel for a month to Charlottesville, Virginia, all expenses paid, which was nice, an intern at the Virginia Quarterly Review.
I had the experience of researching different equities in different markets across 129 different markets.
The first trip was Costa Rica, and just the fact that I could see all of these beautiful species that I read about, and then to do research on it. Oh.
Stuff you learn in class doesn't necessarily fit in the real world, but the internship allows you to see those parallels.
Theory to practice is about entering into a dialogue with the world outside yourself.
I feel like it's rare when I talk to another undergraduate student and they have experience working in a completely different country with research. And I think that kind of gives me the edge compared to some other people.
I wouldn't trade what I've learned here, or what I've experienced here, which is the most important kind of learning for anything.
The NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways, might have a quick word with.
So I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
And welcome back to the NSCAA Game of the Week presented by Turbo Sports. Halftime here at the J. Martin Soccer Complex in Delaware, Ohio. Ohio Wesleyan leading Ohio Northern by a score of 1-0 off a third-minute goal from Brian Schaefer. Right now taking a quick look at the latest NSCAA rankings just released yesterday. But first, before we do so, reminder you can purchase all our game video on turbosportsgroup.com. You can log on to our website, turbosportsgroup.com, TOURBEAU, all lowercase, all one word. And we are the official video production company and organizing body of the Small College Game of the Week series on NSCAA TV. Now let's take a look at the NSCAA coaches standings. First for NCAA Women's Division I, UCLA right now maintaining an undefeated streak. They do have one tie on the season. As right now we will also take a look at NCAA Men's. UCLA, Virginia Tech, and Virginia, the top three in NCAA Women's Division I, while over on the men's side, in Men's Division II, Southern New Hampshire, the defending national champion, they are also undefeated and untied. And Young Harris rounding out the top 10 in NCAA Men's Division II. Meanwhile, NCAA Women's Division II, College of St. Rose is also undefeated and untied. They are a 4-0-0. They've risen up 4 spots. Minnesota State Mankato also rising up 5 spots into the second spot. Well, biggest jump will be for Columbus State, rising up from 20 into the top 5. They are the 5th best team in NCAA Women's Division II so far. And taking a look at NCAA Men's Division III, at one point this time last year, Ohio Northern and Ohio Wesleyan were both in the top 10. That is not the case this year, but a fellow Ohio school is Kenyon College is undefeated and untied, maintaining their spot at second, and the two-time defending national champion Messiah is atop the men's rankings. Now for the women's Division III rankings, Washington University of Missouri, they're based in St. Louis. They keep their spot atop the rankings. Messiah moves up 1, switching places with Trinity from Texas, while Wheaton College of Illinois and Carnegie Mellon round out the top 5. Taking a look at our lineup, we have tomorrow off. It's a travel day to Springfield, Missouri. We will bring you a Division II matchup Friday night between the University of Indianapolis and Drury. And then on Sunday, September 21st, a doubleheader in the NAIA, our first NAIA production of the Small College Game of the Week series between Georgia Gwinnett. And on the men's side, they'll be taking on William Carey. The women will be hosting Northwood about a half hour afterwards. That's our first doubleheader on Sunday, September 21st, here on NSCAA TV. Right now, we're going to take a quick break. Bring you the second half when we return to the NSCAA Game of the Week here on the Turbo Sports Network. 1-0, Ohio Wesleyan leading Ohio Northern. Back from Delaware after this. 1-0, Ohio Wesleyan leads Ohio Northern as we welcome you back for the second half. First, we'll take a look at some of the highlights, as it only took 2 minutes and 6 seconds for the Battling Bishops to get on the board. It was a goal taken by Brian Schaefer, his now team-leading third goal of the season for the junior from Chatham, New Jersey. And from then on, it was just a showdown between the two goalkeepers, Colin B. Miller and Dean McNeil. McNeil producing a couple of great saves, including one from a Drew Pang header that McNeil cleared right off the line. That was following an Ohio Wesleyan corner. And then a string of 2 straight saves from McNeil, one to deny Brian Schaefer a second goal. And McNeil was only able to parry that to a fellow Ohio Wesleyan forward, Matt Cohen. But McNeil able to repel both those efforts, as well as 8 other shots taken by Ohio Wesleyan. Taking a quick look at the stats, 7 shots, 4 of them on target for Ohio Northern. There were 5 saves made by McNeil. Ohio Northern had 2 corners and 2 fouls, no offside infractions, and no cards of any kind for any of the Polar Bears. Meanwhile, for the Bishops, 9 shots, 6 of them on target, 4 saves made by Colin B. Miller, 5 corners to the Bishops, 3 fouls committed, no offsides, and no cards of any kind. Well, this is our 5th game in the 2014 NSCAA Small College Game of the Week series presented by Turbo Sports. Our first 4 games all featured schools who had a mascot of the night. And the Knights did lose all 4 of those games we brought to you. We had Gannon a couple weeks ago with our first game, then Calvin the following night, then 2 nights later, the Bellarmine Knights lost in overtime. And then just this past Friday, Southern Virginia losing at home in overtime. That was another Knights loss yet again. So this time, our matchup is between the Bishops and the Polar Bears, so the Knights will not lose tonight. Although those of you who may want to argue the Bishops could potentially lose because the NSCAA Game of the Week is not kind to teams with chess pieces for mascots. I should clarify that. They just happen to be the same names as chess pieces. But right now it is the Bishops over the Polar Bears off a 3rd-minute goal from Brian Schaefer, as the final instructions being issued to the players on the pitch. Ohio Northern in black with white trim, white numbers going right to left across your screen. They will kick off to begin the second half. For those interested in geography, Ohio Northern will be going from south to north. Ohio Wesleyan in white with black trim, black numbers going left to right or north to south. Austin Horton and David Janis standing in center circle, ready to get us underway in the second half. Ohio Northern looking for their first win in this fixture since 2008. Ohio Wesleyan has won every match since then, including 2 games in 2011, the regular season win, and then a 3-2 come-from-behind triumph in the 3rd round of the NCAA tournament. Ohio Wesleyan would go on to win that season, their 2nd Division III national championship. Ohio Northern would make it to the championship game 1 year later in 2012, only to fall short to Messiah. David Janis for Ohio Northern. Quick turnover to Ohio Wesleyan. And Colton Blecker continuing a run, cross into the box, intended for Lee, deflected, carried into the 6-yard box, collected by Dean McNeil. So a bit of a scary situation there for Ohio Northern, as McNeil called into action inside the opening minute. That was something Ohio Wesleyan excelled on in the opening few moments of the first half, of course, paying dividends just 2 minutes, 6 seconds into the game with the 3rd goal of the season from Brian Schaefer. A bicycle S clearance by Chris Garbig. Here's Horton. Out on the wing to Dakota Swisher. Both teams receiving instructions from their longtime head coaches. Brent Ridenauer in his 17th year for Ohio Northern. Jay Martin in his 38th season for Ohio Wesleyan. Martin, the winningest head coach among all college soccer coaches all time. 643 wins in all. He's just over 43 minutes away from win number 644. And Ohio Wesleyan seeking their first win in a week and a half. Their last win, 2-0 over Guilford on September 6th. They followed that up with a 4-1 loss to Otterbein on the 10th and a 1-1 draw with Center on the 13th. Lee heads it towards Blecker. Tries an ambitious shot, got it underneath Chase Mueller. Blecker looked like he wanted to half volley that into the far corner, but McNeil able to collect coolly and clear for the Polar Bears. Very nice turnout tonight here at Rory Reich Field. They are bundled up as we are now into the high 50s temperature-wise. It's been a very cool week throughout central Ohio, not really getting above mid-70s, if even that's accurate. Could have been, we've been all completely in the 60s all day yesterday. Certainly we were in that temperature range, and we've been that way today. Very comfortable weather, especially for an outdoor activity like college soccer. Here's Patrick Sable. He was the OAC Player of the Week last week for Ohio Northern. And a misclearance by Gunnar Blecker provides opportunity for Horton inside the penalty box. Swisher's cross deflected. Northern will reset. This is Dustin Lorenzo. Horton. One-on-one with DeCesar. Initiating contact inside the penalty box, but play on, says referee Trey Gaither. Horton's pass now toward the middle. Here's Grant Albritton. Out on the wing for a teammate and out for an Ohio Wesleyan goal kick. So first action of the second half for Colin B. Miller comes in the 49th minute, and it's a goal kick. Schaefer trying a one-touch pass, maintaining possession, getting around Swisher. And Cohen maintaining attacking possession for Ohio Wesleyan. Cross intercepted and cleared by Chad Smith. Ohio Wesleyan with the attacking throw-in, now 40 minutes and change to play in regulation time. Those of you new to college soccer, clock counts down from 45 with clock stoppages for injuries, goals, and fouls, usually the kind that result in yellow or even red cards. As Lee's cross cleared out of the 6-yard box by Lorenzo, headed back by Barnes. And Blecker takes the resulting throw-in for Ohio Wesleyan. Schaefer, Rieger off the one-touch pass from Blecker, and Rieger's pass always rising away from the far post of goal. McNeil takes the ensuing goal kick. If Ohio Northern do come back and tie this match, we will then play 2 10-minute periods of sudden death overtime. Our last 3 matches, as a matter of fact, our last 2 NSCAA matches have indeed gone to extra time. Ohio Dominican needing only about 80 seconds in the first period of overtime to win a penalty and seal a 3-2 win over Bellarmine. While Southern Virginia had scored a goal to force overtime against Hampton-Sydney, but the Hampton-Sydney Tigers scored with about a minute left in the second period of overtime. Southern Virginia very close to getting a draw, but a late goal for Hampton-Sydney ended their hopes as an ambitious effort from Rieger collected by D. McNeil. Looked to be swirling a little bit away from the target, but that is now 12 shots in 51-plus minutes for Ohio Wesleyan. No shots for Ohio Northern in the second half. They are still at 7, the total they had at halftime. Ohio Northern did come into this match with the better record of the two teams, 5-2 compared to 3-2-1. But again, Ohio Wesleyan, they have not lost this fixture since 2008. 6 straight wins over the last 5 seasons. I say 6 over 5 because they did play twice in 2011. And here's Brian Schaefer inside the penalty box. Crosses over to Blecker, caught from behind by a defender. Blecker wanted handball. Trey Gaither does not agree, and McNeil will clear for the Polar Bears. Well, this is the only midweek game for both teams. Ohio Wesleyan will be back in action this coming Saturday, September 20th, when they head to Baldwin-Wallace College over in Berea for another Division III encounter. While this is Ohio Northern's 6th straight road game of the 2014 season, they end that road streak here tonight in Delaware. They will head back the 58 miles to Ada tonight and get ready for a visit from Case Western Reserve on Saturday, September 20th. That will be a home game over at the ONU soccer field. Headed out of bounds, last touch by Swisher. Ohio Wesleyan with the attacking throw-in. Gunnar Blecker for the Bishops. Schaefer's cross went well in between Chase Mueller and Dean McNeil, Rolls beyond the touchline for an Ohio Northern goal kick. Headed back by Rieger towards Lee, and Blecker now feeding Rieger down the left side of the field. Crossing the box intended for Lee. Will keep the ball in play. Schaefer getting around one defender. Tries a left-footed shot, always rising well above the crossbar, but another ambitious effort from Ohio Wesleyan, and that is something they have been not shy about in the slightest throughout this match. They know a 1-0 lead is they know to keep attacking and searching for a little bit of insurance, a little bit of security in this lead. As Ohio Northern, they did have a couple opportunities themselves, but Ohio Wesleyan, I must admit, since Schaefer's goal has come the closest to scoring the second goal of this match. And the Battling Bishops again awarded the free kick just past the halfway line in the 56th minute. Austin Horton. He had the first goal of the game in this fixture last year before 2 goals from Colton Blecker won the game for Ohio Wesleyan. And as I mentioned back at halftime, that was a game which both teams were ranked in the top 10 of the NSCAA poll. This year, Ohio Wesleyan this week is not ranked. They were 12th last week. Ohio Northern rose up a couple spots to 24th. Ohio Wesleyan is ranked 22nd in the D3Soccer.com poll. Chase Mueller with the free kick, blocked by Blecker. Rieger clears it back to Mueller at the center circle. Backheel pass and an opportunity knocking for Ohio Northern, but the flag was up on the far side. An infraction negates a promising opportunity for the Polar Bears to find an equalizer. They are still without a shot on target or off target in this second half. Here's Lorenzo. Ambitious cross into the box, always rising well wide of the post. And B. Miller to take the ensuing goal kick. Well, as mentioned earlier, we will rejoin you on Friday evening when we bring you Springfield, Missouri's Drury University in their matchup with the University of Indianapolis. That's a Division II encounter. That is our next game on the NSCAA Game of the Week series presented by Turbo Sports. We will rejoin you at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. That game does take place in the Central Time Zone. But we look forward to bringing you that matchup between Indianapolis and Drury. And then we will also be bringing you a doubleheader in the NAIA on Sunday, September 21st, featuring Georgia Gwinnett College. We will be in Atlanta, suburban Atlanta, for that opportunity. As a cross into the box, unable to get the critical final touch was Keegan Ross. Would have equalized the contest in the 59th minute. As Ohio Northern maintaining a string of passes, a bout of possession nearly paying off with a goal almost directed past B. Miller, but Ross not able to get the final touch. Pass had too much pace. B. Miller will gratefully take the goal kick. Nearly an hour gone here in Delaware. About a 9.5-hour drive awaiting our production crew tomorrow. Delaware, Ohio to Springfield, Missouri. As Schaefer earns a throw-in off a clearance from Chris Garbig. Ohio Wesleyan will take it, send it back towards midfield, headed on by Kinkoff. Jay Martin is going to make a substitution shortly. As opportunity for Blocker! His third goal of the 2014 season. And Ohio Wesleyan is now up 2-0. The goal was coming for the Battling Bishops, especially with the opportunities they provided in the first half. But just seconds after, Ohio Northern came very close to equalizing. Colton Blecker, the senior from Lewis Center, Ohio, directing the ball into the near corner past goalkeeper McNeil. And a 60th minute goal puts the Bishops on top 2-0. And Blecker gets congratulations from his teammates as he is promptly substituted off with 30 minutes, 44 seconds to play in regulation time. As Nick Norman returns to the field of play, the sophomore from Cincinnati. And for the first time tonight, we see David Robinette, a freshman from Cincinnati. Went to Indian Hill High School. Where's number 13 for the Battling Bishops? No substitute so far the second half from Brent Reidenauer and the Polar Bears. So 2-0 Ohio Wesleyan. A third-minute goal from Brian Schaefer. And now Colton Blecker, in the 60th minute. Both Blecker and Schaefer now with 3 goals on the 2014 season. And Ohio Wesleyan adding a third goal. 2 goals just seconds apart from the Battling Bishops. And Ohio Wesleyan demonstrating just why they are so successful when they play Ohio Northern. It is Nick Norman getting the final touch, the man who had just come on following Blecker's goal in a substitution. He gets the goal at the 29:49 mark of the second half. And another substitution for Ohio Wesleyan, or Ohio Northern, excuse me. Dakota Swisher has come off. Grant Kayott is back on. And Brock Hirsch, for the first time today, the sophomore from Beechwood, has replaced Keegan Ross. So a duo of substitutions after this most recent goal scored by Nick Norman. So again, the new players on the field for Ohio Northern following the goal from Norman. Brock Hirsch, we see him for the first time today, a sophomore from Beechwood, Ohio. And Grant Kayott, who did come on as a substitute back in the first half, as Trey Gaither has right now stopped the clock at 29:28 for an injured player. It's Matt DeCesar, the junior from Westerville, went to St. Francis de Sales High School. Now it's DeCesar running over to the trainer, more of a very pronounced limp. He is doing so under his own power. And Jay Martin will bring on a substitute, number 19, Phoenix Neitzel, a sophomore from Delaware, Ohio, right here where Ohio Wesleyan's campus is located, went to Delaware Hayes High School. A 60th minute goal from Colton Blecker, and a 61st minute goal just seconds later from Nick Norman for the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops. 3 goals for Ohio Wesleyan, none for Ohio Northern. But here come the Polar Bears on the attack. And the attempted pass was deflected out for a Polar Bear corner kick at the far end. Under half an hour to play here in Delaware. Ohio Northern trying to rebound from their loss at Albion. If they are to do just that, they will need 3 goals in 29 minutes after being held scoreless for 61. Cross into the box, headed on by Lorenzo. Now driven low in the box, and a shot right at the legs of B. Miller. But the senior from Pickerington able to preserve his shutout. That is now his 5th save of the night, compared to 6 for McNeil. Goal kick upcoming for Ohio Wesleyan. As the Battling Bishops, again, they had a lot of opportunities in the first half, but only one paid off. Brian Schaefer in the 3rd minute. They have enjoyed a little bit more success in this first part of the second half, directing 2 about a half minute apart. One from Colton Blecker, who was about to come back onto the field as a substitute very shortly, and one from Nick Norman, who came on as a substitute following Blecker's goal. Norman scored in the 61st to bring us to our current score of 3-0. Here's Robinette. His first touches of the ball. Gaither awards Ohio Wesleyan a throw-in, and the Bishops will first make a triple substitution. Colton Blecker, Jeremy Brown, and Kyle Baum are back on the field. Brown and Baum did not start, but Blecker has returned after a brief time on the bench, a little water break. And no doubt a pep talk from 38th-year head coach Jay Martin, just 26 minutes and counting from career win number 644. Robin out fouled from behind. Ohio Wesleyan awarded the free kick, taken quickly by Gunnar Blecker. Brown. Attempted sliding challenge from Robinette, unable to make contact. But it was cleared out last touch by Ohio Northern. Bishops with a corner kick, taken short to Baum. Cross into the box, headed up by Pang. Pang getting another header, and it falls over the top of the crossbar. Out for an Ohio Northern corner kick. Goal kick, excuse me. So our next 3 games will come to you in the span of this weekend. Friday, as mentioned earlier, we are in Springfield, Missouri for the U of Indianapolis taking on Drury at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central. Then Sunday, we bring you our first doubleheader of this series over at Georgia Gwinnett College in Lawrenceville, Georgia. The men will be taking on William Carey. That match will kick off at noon Eastern Standard Time, while the Georgia Gwinnett Lady Grizzlies will take on Northwood at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's our next 3 matches right here on NSCAA TV. Through ball, a little bit of miscommunication. Mueller almost allowed an opportunity for Baum to have a breakaway on goal. And now a foul called on Ohio Wesleyan. Dick Norman thought he had won the ball cleanly from a Polar Bear midfielder. Referee Trey Gaither thinks otherwise and awards the Polar Bears a free kick in the 66th minute. Cleared out by Ohio Wesleyan. Under pressure from Norman. Now receiving assistance from Peng. And a throw into Ohio Northern, taken quickly down the far sideline. Just in front of that corner flag. Schaefer feeding Brown towards the middle of the field. Now a long ball for Kyle Baum, who would have been onside, not able to get the touch, but a heavy touch there, almost turned it over. That was Grant Kayott for Ohio Northern. His long pass finds Kinkoff down the left side for the Polar Bears. Kinkoff one-on-one with Gunnar Blecker inside the box. Blecker needs Peng to clear out as far as Lorenzo. And an ambitious shot always going away from goal. Only 2 shots taken in the second half. Make that 3 in the second half by Ohio Northern. 3-0 in the 68th minute. Brian Schaefer opened the scoring in the 3rd minute. Colton Blecker got his 3rd goal of the season in the 60th. And just seconds later, Nick Norman got on the score sheet in the 61st minute. As Jay Martin will be making another substitution shortly. As a hard collision. Looked like Robinette committed a foul. And we will shortly see the debut of the match for Trey Olson, the freshman from Northbrook, Illinois. He is set to come on for Ohio Wesleyan. While standing on the touchline waiting to enter for Ohio Northern, A.J. Vergara, a senior from Mason, Ohio. And also Chad Smith, who started the game. He is a junior from Miamisburg, Ohio, and right now all 3 players will come on. So once again, Trey Olson now playing for Ohio Wesleyan, Chad Smith and A.J. Vergara for Ohio Northern. Coming off for the Polar Bears, number 17, Patrick Sable, and number 14, Grant Kayott. And Ryan Kaplan, who has been very busy at the left back position, particularly in the first half for Ohio Wesleyan, he is the one whom Olson replaces. Baum lays off a pass for Blecker, going for his 2nd goal of the game. Shot right above McNeil, easily collected by the freshman goalkeeper. Well, it just hasn't been his night, particularly in the second half, but the shot not too far above his head, able to raise his arms and prevent Blecker from getting his second goal of the evening. Robinette wins a throw-in, last touch by Horton. Actually, Trey Gaither awards a throw-in to Northern. Excuse me, I was saying Ohio Wesleyan was about to take that throw-in. Here's Smith finding Janis. Clean tackle from behind. Horton gets possession back for the Polar Bears. Mueller. Here's Vergara. Sliding challenge from Gunnar Blecker. Janis maintaining possession for the Polar Bears. And an attacking throw-in for Ohio Northern. We're now under the final 20 minutes of regulation. Ohio Northern trying to improve to 4-2-1 on the 2014 season. Ohio Wesleyan, as I should say, excuse me. Ohio Northern, meanwhile, trying to avoid a second straight road loss. They lost at the weekend 3-2 at Albion. And this is their final match of their 6-game road trip. They are back home in Ada on Saturday when they host Case Western Reserve. Goal kick to Ohio Wesleyan, and the Bishops will make 2 substitutions, bringing back 2 starters. Evan Lee, the junior forward from Toledo, and Brian Schaefer, the junior midfielder from Chatham, New Jersey. Schaefer opened the scoring just 2 minutes and 6 seconds into the match. They replace Baum and Brown in the 72nd minute. Here is Schaefer. Out comes McNeil to collect the pass. Was intended down the left wing for Nick Norman. He is also on the score sheet tonight looking for his second. Robinette winning the ball for Ohio Wesleyan. Blecker cleared away by Chris Garbig, but now Schaefer keeping possession for the Bishops. Blecker's cross, curling behind the goalpost and then back into the field of play, but Trey Gaither was spot on making the call to give Ohio Northern the goal kick now in the 73rd minute. As Jay Martin, continuing his conversation, he's going to send Kyle Baum back onto the pitch, as well as Ricardo Balmaceda. We will see him shortly, and Ohio Northern will send back Seth Ricker onto the field of play. Ricker was substituted back in the first half, a freshman from Fort Jennings, Ohio. So Kyle Baum is on for David Robinette. Ricardo Balmaceda replaces Nick Norman, and Seth Ricker replaces, starting right back for the Polar Bears, Chuck D'Imperio. Not a good night for the senior from Livonia, New York. Just over a quarter of an hour remaining, and Blecker finding Schaefer, and a sliding tackle made cleanly by Garbig to force a clearance, and a corner kick over at the southeast corner of the field to be taken by Ohio Wesleyan. Blecker dancing inside and outside the box. Back to younger brother Gunner. Colton threading it through for Lee. Now Colton continuing his run. Tried to set up Lonnie Barnes with a shot on goal. And now an opportunity just over the crossbar. That was Ricardo Balmaceda, who had Dean McNeil beaten but just couldn't slide it underneath the crossbar. Otherwise, it was most certainly 4-0 advantage Bishops. And that really would have been the icing on the cake for head coach Jay Martin and his coaching staff, who have gotten his team ready for a matchup that they are going to take win number 18 in out of 22 matches played. Ohio Northern, unless they can muster 3 goals in 14 minutes and 50 seconds and counting, they will go to 5-3 on the season. They will have lost 18 of the 22 matches played between the Polar Bears and the Battling Bishops. Again, their last win, it was right here at the J. Martin Soccer Complex, but it came back in 2008. There have been 6 games played between then, 1 in 2009, 1 in 2010, 2 games in 2011, 1 in the regular season, 1 in the third round of the NCAA Division III tournament, and then 1 game each in 2012 and 2013 as a 4-star performance meets a 4th goal. Evan Lee, the junior, increasing the Bishops' advantage and ensuring a 4th win of the year for the Battling Bishops. 3 goals separated by a quarter of an hour. As both teams again making more substitutions, David Janis and Austin Horton have come off for the Polar Bears. Evan Lee, much like Colton Blecker did right after his goal. Now Evan Lee scores and is promptly substituted out. And Colin B. Miller will also get an ovation as he exits with 14:10 to play in regulation time. So Jay Martin electing to go to his backup goalkeeper for the final 14 minutes and change. Ben Faranowski, a sophomore from Columbus, Ohio, went to Grandview Heights High School. He will get to enjoy a quarter hour of action on the pitch here at Roy Reich Field. And Martin is not quite done yet with the substitutions. Taylor Rieger will come back on shortly. He is a senior from Lewis Center, Ohio, went to Olentangy Orange High School. And Pat Miller will also enter the game for the first time shortly. Miller, a freshman from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, went to Upper St. Clair High School. Free kick awarded to Ohio Northern with 13:22 and counting. Regulation time, Ohio Wesleyan leading 4-0 on goals from Brian Schaefer, Colton Blecker, Nick Norman, and Evan Lee. And Lorenzo's cross looked like it was going to dip in below the crossbar at the very last second. Faranowski cleared the ball out just for good measure, and as a result, Ohio Northern earned an attacking corner kick. It is their 4th of the game. Corner kick taken by Brock Hirsch. Cleared back to Chase Mueller. Chad Smith getting around Balmaceda. Smith's pass. Gaither says the ball was cleared away cleanly. And Ohio Northern now have a corner kick over at the northeast or northwest end of the pitch. 3rd minute, 60th minute, 61st, and 76th. Those were the times of the goals scored in order by Schaefer, Colton Blecker, Norman, and Lee. As Lorenzo's crossed into the box, cleared out from just beyond the 6-yard box. Chad Smith will reset. As Smith tried to send that one back to Devin McNeil, it deflected off the side of Chase Mueller's body, and Ohio Wesleyan have an attacking throw-in. Not before they make a couple of substitutions, including Rieger, Pat Miller, and a third substitute. We're going to see David Robinet return in the 79th minute. Robinet on for Brian Schaefer, the first goal scorer of the afternoon. Colton Blecker, Lonnie Barnes also taken off. They will get a chance to enjoy the final 11 minutes and change from the bench. Balmaceda turned it over, then won the ball right back. Miller. 19-12, the shot tally advantage, Ohio Wesleyan. Although, as in all games, it's the score that matters. As an ambitious opportunity, nearly finding the corner. Devin McNeil did not make any great effort to see if the ball was going to sail into the net. Perhaps he must have thought it was always going wide. But an opportunity there for Ohio Wesleyan that, had it gone in, really would have summed up how the evening has gone for both the Bishops and the Polar Bears. Here's Vergara. Intercepted by Gunnar Blecker initially, but turned back over to the Polar Bears. Ohio Northern trying to find a goal and avoid being shut out before their 58-mile drive back to Ada tonight. Inside the final 10 minutes. Through ball for Ohio Wesleyan, Nick Tobias now in the game, a sophomore from Chesterfield, Missouri. He got across into the box, collected by McNeil. Again, a dominant performance so far on the night from Ohio Wesleyan, as Brett Reidenauer will make another 5 substitution move at the next dead ball, and here they come. Grant Albritton, Braden Davies, Aaron Smith, a sophomore from Westerville, Ohio, Corey Lanes, and we'll get the 5th substitute confirmed for you shortly. But this was a tactic Reidenauer made back in the first half. He actually brought 6 players on at one time, and it did work in the sense that Ohio Wesleyan was not able to score again in the first half, although they did try. It wasn't as if they simply sat back and enjoyed their 1-0 lead. They did push for a 2-0 lead before the break and did come close on multiple occasions before some excellent saves from Dean McNeil, who has not been able to produce those kinds of saves in the second half. Just about 8:45 here on the East Coast, in the Eastern time zone. Again, Matt Digby here. Glad you could join us in this Division III encounter, the NSCAA Game of the Week from Roy Reich Field at the J. Martin Soccer Complex in Delaware, Ohio. And it has been all Ohio Wesleyan in this home match against non-conference foe, but Buckeye State foe, Ohio Northern. Foul the infraction, free kick awarded to Ohio Northern in the 83rd minute. Brian Schaefer got the scoring start in the 3rd minute. Gunnar Colton Blecker got a goal in the 60th minute, yes. Nick Norman got one in the 61st, and Evan Lee in the 76th. That brings us to our current score of 4-0. Baum earning a free kick, fouled from behind by Dustin Lorenzo. Balmaceda turning around Smith. Threading a ball into the box. Here's Blecker's cross. Gunnar Blecker getting the touch. Cleared out by Ohio Northern. Here's Hirsch. Hirsch continuing his run again. Cutting into the middle of the field. Here's Corey Lanes. Getting around Pang. Tries a shot deflected by Trey Olson. Cross back into the box. Headed away by Gunnar Blecker. Here's Pat Miller. And Ben Farinowski, who came on as a substitute earlier in the second half. The starter, Colin B. Miller, being given the rest the final quarter hour or so by head coach Jay Martin. Just over 5 minutes away from career win number 644. He already has the most all-time among all soccer coaches in college, becoming the second man to reach the 600-win plateau. Right now, only he and Joe Bean are in that college soccer fraternity. Final 5 minutes of regulation as the fans continuing to stay here at the J. Martin Soccer Complex. Taking a quick look at the stats right now, 20 shots to 13, advantage Ohio Wesleyan. Of the shots on target, Bishop's lead 11-6. D. McNeil has made 7 saves compared to 6 for the Ohio Wesleyan goalkeepers. Although the Bishops have a 7-6 edge on corner kicks, a 9-5 edge on fouls committed. Only one offside called in the 90 minutes, or really 86 minutes so far. That was on Ohio Northern. And no cards, a very clean game. Not a whole lot of physical confrontations, and a tackle from behind. That was a foul, but no card taken. No malicious intent. That's the 10th foul of the game on Ohio Wesleyan. 87th minute now. Here's Chad Smith. In the box, guarded one-on-one by Gunnar Blecker. Smith's cross collected right on the line by Ben Farinowski. So the reserve goalkeeper for the Bishops is getting some action, being called into duty in the final stages of this match. One-touch pass in the air, laid off, intended for Jeremy Brown. Cleared by Ohio Northern. Now opportunity for Brock Hirsch. Space. Passes back to Lanes. And a tap opportunity shot by Braden Davies, the freshman from Westlake, Ohio, always rising above the crossbar. Farinowski will take the goal kick. When he does so, we will be inside the final 150 seconds of regulation time. Here's Kyle Baum. And a one-touch opportunity. A fantastic goal by Jeremy Brown. Brown able to control the pass from Baum with his chest and directed into the far corner past a diving McNeil. And a 5-star goal to complement a 5-star performance from the Battling Bishops of Ohio Wesleyan. Jeremy Brown, a freshman from Xenia, Ohio, gets on the score sheet, and it is now 5-0 in the 88th minute. Well, that has to be, if the NSCAA TV does compile a goals of the season collection, that would definitely have to be included. That effort as an opportunity, knocking for Hirsch, pushed out of bounds by Faranowski. Ohio Northern have a corner kick as they desperately try to avoid being shut out. They have 95 seconds to do just that. As Jeremy Brown, what a control off the pass from Baum, able to chest it down and in the air, direct a shot towards the far post, and Ohio Northern do get a consolation goal. The Polar Bears avoid the shutout off an 89th minute goal from Patrick Sable. He was the Ohio Athletic Conference Player of the Week last week. And Sable, the sophomore from Lancaster, he was a letterman last year for ONU. He gets a goal in the 89th minute. So the goals are not done yet. We still have 80 seconds to go. But Ohio Northern do avoid the shutout, even if it's come too late for a comeback to possibly force overtime or maybe even win. Here's Lorenzo as the Polar Bears now trying for a second goal. Now inside the final minute. Just like Blecker and Norman for Ohio Wesleyan, scoring 2 goals seconds apart. Now Ohio Wesleyan and Ohio Northern trading goals just seconds apart. One from Jeremy Brown and one from Patrick Sable. I'd say there were about 50 seconds in between those last 2 goals, as we're now at the 20-second mark of regulation time. So Faranowski unable to complete the shutout for 90 minutes. But final 10 seconds being counted down now here at Reich Field. And Ohio Wesleyan, behind 5 goals from 5 different players, came out dominating with a goal in the 3rd minute from Brian Schaefer. And the Battling Bishops never looked back. 4 goals in the second half, including a peach from Jeremy Brown in the 88th minute. That would definitely have to be counted as a potential goal of the season in some soccer circles. Ohio Northern was able to get one back and avoid the shutout in the 89th minute off an effort from Patrick Sable. But the final score tonight, Ohio Wesleyan 5, Ohio Northern 1. The Bishops improved to 4-2-1 on the 2014 season. They are back in action this Saturday, September 20th, when they head to Berea, Ohio. That's in the northeast part of the state to take on Baldwin-Wallace. Ohio Northern will make the 58-mile trek back to their home campus in Ada tonight, and they will get ready for their first home game in 7 games when they take on Case Western on Saturday. We'll be back to wrap up with final thoughts and our final sign-off. But again, this has been the Turbo Sports NSCAA Game of the Week. We'll be back after this quick timeout here from Delaware.
got the chance to travel for a month to Charlottesville, Virginia, all expenses paid, which was nice, and intern at the Virginia Quarterly Review.
I had the experience of researching different equities in different markets across 129 different markets.
The first trip was Costa Rica, and just the fact that I could see all of these beautiful species that I read about, and then to do research on it.
Stuff you learn in class doesn't necessarily fit in the real world, but the internship allows you to see those parallels.
Theory practice is about entering into a dialogue with the world outside yourself.
I feel like it's rare when I talk to another undergraduate student and they have experience working in a completely different country with research. And I feel like that kind of gives me the edge compared to some other people.
I wouldn't trade what I've learned here, or what I've experienced here, which is the most important kind of learning for anything.
The NSCAA convention to me is probably the best place to get any sort of education of a wide variety that you can go in the world.
Always nice to see who you wander across in the hallways might have a quick word with.
So I think it's exciting to meet youth coaches and high school coaches and even college coaches who are all really passionate about the sport.
It's a learning experience. I think it's invaluable both from a coach standpoint and from an administrative standpoint.
Each year, the NSCAA puts over 7,000 coaches through our coaching education program. Youth, high school, and college coaches at all levels participate in the diploma courses. No matter where you are in your coaching path, we have something for you. Join your peers and get educated. Better coaching, better players, better game. NSCAA Coaching Academy. Improving soccer, one coach at a time. Register today at nscaa.com/education.
Good evening from the J. Martin Soccer Complex in Delaware, Ohio, and it was a very good evening for Coach Jay Martin and the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops. A 5-1 win over their rivals from just about an hour to the west. The Ohio Northern Polar Bears, 5-1 your final score, goal scored. It started all in the 3rd minute from Brian Schaefer, his 3rd goal of the season, before Colton Blecker got his 3rd goal in the season right on the hour mark at the 59-16 mark of the 2nd half. And then about 55 seconds later, Nick Norman got his 1st goal of the match, and directing it past goalkeeper Dean McNeil to make it 3-0. And then 3 more goals throughout the match. Evan Lee in the 76th minute making it 4-0 to the Battling Bishops. And then Jeremy Brown, what can I say about this goal? Across from Kyle Baum, Brown able to control it with his chest, and a one-touch shot directed right into the far corner of the net past a diving McNeil into the back of the net for 5-0. And Ohio Northern was able to avoid the shutout just seconds later on a goal from Patrick Sable. That was off a corner kick. It was a loose ball in the box following the corner as Ohio Northern avoids the shutout. But the Ohio Wesleyan Battling Bishops, they are victors in this match 5-1. They improved to 4-2-1 of the 2014 season. They are back in action Saturday at Baldwin Wallace. Ohio Northern are back at home in Ada to host Case Western on Saturday evening. And that will do it for us here from Delaware. We will rejoin you on Friday evening from Springfield, Missouri for a Division II encounter between the U of Indianapolis and Drury University. That's set to be a fun, exciting matchup that will kick off at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. That will do it here from Ohio Wesleyan University. For everyone involved with Turbo Sports production, special thanks to the Ohio Wesleyan Sports Information Department. Now for Chase Neidig, Todd Ward, Scott Cheney, and everyone with TSG, I'm Matt Digby. Thank you for watching this NSCAA Game of the Week. We'll talk to you on Friday. This is the TSG Network.